Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Thursday, the 15th of February. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is in this mildly ascending trend channel in place since August. Top of the channel there heading for 78.10, which we would be looking for if we could get an end of day close above 7600, a rising 50-day moving average. So far we've just hit that line and going to come back today. There is support at the 200-day line around 75.45. But if we break that 200-day line, then the bottom of the range and the bottom of the channel is 74.54 currently. RSI is still below neutral 50, so we still have the risk of a failure below the 50-day line and then a push down. But obviously hoping that we will get an end-of-day close above a rising 50-day line, which would be a decent signal. Moving along to the DAX, which has had its issues with the 17,000 level, but today we managed to gap through it, so obviously the gap suggests that people were expecting it not to get broken. In terms of what happens next above 17,000 on an end of day close basis, we're looking for 17,008 or 900 by the end of next month. On the downside, the worst at the moment, 16,700 and the 50-day moving average, but we're going to have an RSI rebound above neutral 50, so that does imply that we are ready for a new leg to the upside. Moving on to the Dow, which managed to recover after the initial scare there. The floor of the channel there from October looks like it is at Monday's support, so around the 38,100 level. That's also above the 50-day line, 37,600. The 50-day line currently the worst case scenario for this market if we do break down. Otherwise, we're looking for a 40,000 target by the end of next month. I suppose at this stage, any dips towards that 50-day line would be regarded as buying opportunities. And we're hoping that the RSI remains above neutral 50. It's 56 at the moment to keep that uptrend or that recovery trend in play. Moving on to Bitcoin, which has delighted people, I think, with the recent past. Being on the right side of 50,000 is a very good look, obviously, and hitting our resistance line target there at that level, around the 52,000 area, much appreciated, especially as it is or has been done ahead of schedule. We were looking for that to be hit by the end of this month, or if we were really unlucky, the end of next month. Current situation is above 52,000, looking for 60,000 by the end of next month. But obviously, the way this market's going, it could be rather sooner than that. On the downside, the old January resistance, 49,000, the obvious support area. If we're really unlucky, we'd have to test back to 46,000, but that doesn't seem to be on the cards at the moment. Moving on to gold, which has been proving itself to be a loser in terms of the battle between itself and Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin effectively has become the new gold. We've got a falling 50-day line there, and we're seeing this market head back down towards the floor of that rising trend channel from March last year at 1945. And obviously, we don't want to see anything lower than that on any support tests. But the earliest you could think of having a positive signal there would be an end-of-day close back above the initial February support at 2030. Moving on to the stocks, and we've got Belluscura to start. Here the situation is that we've had decent strong candles now. What's that, 6 or 7 strong candles there off the low, so it does suggest that there is something very nice going on there. We also gapped through neckline resistance at 20 pence, and we found support above a rising 50-day line, so that does suggest that the top of the triangle there from November around 27 pence is a done deal, and we could probably even be looking for more than that, especially in the form of the 200-day moving average at 29 pence well before the end of this month. Upside value while we stay above that 50-day line at 21 pence. On to the Aquas market, where I've been a bit of a trailblazer in terms of looking at these situations, and it's not Coinbase, it's actually we've got Coinsilium, and here you can see that the shares have made a sort of V-shaped recovery. We had an end-of-day close for the stock above the rising 50-day line. That was at the beginning of the week, and we're looking for a retest of the January resistance around 3 3/4 pence over the next week or two, certainly before the end of this month. If we break that 3 3/4 pence area, the next level up would be up towards 4 3/4, which is an old 2022 resistance line projection. Moving along to Challenger, which seems to be strengthening well at the moment, with this little bull flag forming above a rising 50-day moving average, so that is good news. Above 0.1, looking for the shares to hit 0.15, hopefully well before the end of this month, and maybe we'll get a bit more than that as well. Dukemount is next, and what a ride it's been, obviously, for shareholders hoping for salvation. Here you can see that we've got a rebound off the floor of a broadening triangle, and the top of the triangle there at 0.078, which is what we're looking for by the end of next month, while we remain above the 50-day line at 0.38. So that might be a setup that some brave souls can contemplate. On to Eco Buildings, and here we've been in recovery mode after the fundraise last week. Great looking candles, apart from obviously the one yesterday, but we bounced back from that as well. So it's a bear trap gap reversal and above the 50-day moving average around 13 pence. We're looking for 20 pence by the end of next month. Couldn't resist looking at Helium 1 after all the excitement. Was slightly faded, but what's interesting here is that even after the pullback, we've managed to stay above 1.6 pence, at or above 1.6 pence, which is well above the floor of the gap there at 1.4. While there's no end of day close back below 1.4, we're still looking for a retest of recent highs at 3.5 pence, and in fact, ultimately, maybe even as soon as the end of next month, up to 5.5 pence to fill that gap down from back in November. But the key here, 1.4 on the floor of the gap, and then 1.6, ideally, we stay above 1.6. On to i3 Energy, which doesn't get too much exposure, and so it's worth having a look at it at the moment. Here we've got a bear trap situation, a bear trap rebound from below the December support there around 8.7 pence. The longer we stay above that, the greater the chance of a move at least back to 10 pence, possibly as soon as the end of this month. But if you're cautious, be waiting for a break of the RSI back above neutral 50 before assuming a turnaround is on its way. On to a stock which hasn't been covered here very much at all, which is Jarvis, and here we've got a nice turnaround for the shares with the stock. I suppose the giveaway that there was going to be a turnaround was the way that we've had the 50-day line rising since the last week of January, and obviously today we'd like to get an end of day close above it at 58. Initial target here up to 75 pence. The big picture target, maybe over the next couple of months, would be the line that I'm drawing at the moment, the upper parallel of that rising trend channel base as high as 95 pence. So as I said, through the mid-70s and then up to the mid-90s, and ideally we stay above the January resistance 63 pence on an end of day close basis, only back below the 50-day line, really delaying the upside scenario. On to Microsalt next. It's not quite Microsoft yet, but here yesterday's call that we were in a rising trend channel from the early part of this month, with the top of the channel there at 105 seemed to be spot on, and obviously we even went a bit further than that. We overshot and went up to 109.5. Current situation is that we had resistance in the 90 pence zone, and so above that we're looking for not only a retest of the £1.10 area, but also we can now dare to give an upper parallel to that rising trend channel, and that is currently heading towards as high as £1.30. So £1.30 possible here while we remain above 90 pence. So let's see if that call goes as well as yesterday's did. On to Poolbeg, where I've been complaining that the shares have been on the wrong side of 10 pence, but they've seemed to have listened, and we had nice consolidation there above a rising 50-day line ahead of the gap higher today on news that Carl Friel is going to be the executive chairman of Poolbeg. We've been looking for a target around 11.5 pence, and obviously with the latest gap, we're hoping for that to happen over the next few days. If you are a fan of the shares and looking for something more than 11 pence, then the favoured destination at this point would be the top of the rising trend channel I'm just drawing now, as high, from back in September, as high as 14 pence by the end of next month. I think while we're above 9 on the 50-day line, looking for 14 is not too optimistic. On to Renalytix, which was the stock of the end of last week and the beginning of this week. Current situation is that, like so many flash-in-the-pan moves, we've got a bit of a pullback, but there is a line of support there at 25 pence, which may be attractive to some, and that was the initial target we had at 25 pence, a December resistance line. Above that, still looking for a potential, at least a part retest of the spike of this week towards 71 pence. Next up is Strategic Minerals, which has been a very consistent situation, perhaps a little uncharacteristically. Here we had our initial target there at 0.25. Above that we were looking for 0.35, and that is still the case by the end of this month. And the shares stepping up to the plate. The only other point to note at the moment is the way that the 50 and 200-day lines are rising, so they're heading for a golden cross over the next week or two, and the run-up to a golden cross does tend to be the strongest part in the cycle. Finishing off with Tekcapital, which despite the massive rise and in Microsalt has only gingerly headed higher, but I did say there was this sort of W-shaped flag that we had above 14 pence, which was our initial target here, but looking for 21 pence, and hopefully we'll get that by the end of this month. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.